it hasn't been boring around the NFL and around college football.
It was for as long as you and I have spent Monday nights, focused on the game and thinking about how it was going to affect our Tuesday conversations and our work the rest of the week. I mean, last night was a Monday night, 3-hour experience unlike any I've had. You've got a close game, which isn't that unusual, but with all the news about Brian Kelly coming out, going to LSU, I mean, I was literally one eye on the game and one eye on what is going on in South Bend. Is this really true? Could it really be true? So it was a Monday night 3-hour experience unlike any I've had.
Paul, why don't we just start there? Since you brought up Brian Kelly and the coach thing, I realize that most people listen to this for our views on the NFL, but I just, when I heard this last night, I was just really, it just struck me wrong. It really struck me the wrong way. And again, I'm 64 years old. I've got a little bit of Pollyanna in me, and I've got a little bit of, this just feels wrong. And I'll tell you why it feels wrong. Not necessarily because Notre Dame is so sanctimonious and wonderful and everybody should aspire to coach and play at Notre Dame. No, that's not it. Brian Kelly's job every year is to recruit and to gather a bunch of young men and drill them and coach them and practice and play with one goal in mind, and that is to win a national championship. It's very hard at Notre Dame compared to some other programs. I get it, but that has to be the goal every year. That was his goal this year. They've lost one game. Most likely, I would say, it's likely that they're going to get in the Final Four. They're going to get in the tournament. You work all year for this. And one day, these kids look on Twitter and find out that their coach has bolted for LSU. And again, I get the fact that 10 or 12 million or whatever he's making, it's really hard to say no to that. I get it. But you know what, Brian Kelly? Be an adult. Be responsible. Just like you would want your players to be. And I just really object, much more than Lincoln Riley leaving, because Oklahoma's not playing for anything big like this. They're not going to make the Final Four. They're not going to make the college football playoffs. So that's sort of the hazards of the business. But any coach who would abandon his team before the Final Four, before this tournament, not only rubs me the wrong way, but I think it says something, quite honestly, about his character. And it just really, really bothers me. There are some times in life where you need to take a business opportunity and you need to leave and go somewhere. There are some times in life where you just say, no, absolutely, I can't do this right now. I can't leave these 90 guys. I can't leave this university right now. You want to talk to me in a month? Talk to me. And if the opportunity is not there in a month, and almost certainly wouldn't be, then there is no opportunity. That's the way it goes. This is the life you chose. I don't know. Paul, I know you're close to the Notre Dame program, and you go out there and you do the games on the radio. I just this really was disappointing to me. I don't know how you feel about it. I know Brian Kelly, and everybody says Brian Kelly's a great guy. This just bothers me a lot.
I think the opinion that you have, Peter, is one that's going to be shared by a number of people. And as I sit here and listen to you, you make good points about feeling the way you do. And there will be plenty of people who feel the same way. And I mean, I've got to be honest, when I was sitting there watching it last night and seeing the tweets, I'm like, okay, there's a big difference between LSU being interested in Brian Kelly, which was being reported throughout the day, and then in the evening turning toward, hey, Brian Kelly is going to go to LSU. That when it shifted to that was when I was like many people, I'm like, this doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, coaches leave good programs all the time, but they don't leave when their team is 6 days away from a real fighting chance, at least a 50-50 chance of making the college football playoff and being one of the select teams that actually has a chance to win the national title. That makes it awfully unique. And as I thought about it more and more, Peter, I'm around the program every week, like you said. I've spent a lot of time around Brian Kelly this season and in the recent seasons. There's nothing about the way he conducted himself this year that suggested, you know what, feels like Brian's looking for something else. He doesn't have the same fire he had 7 years ago or 2 years ago or 5 years ago. I mean, the all-time winningest coach at Notre Dame, I think, had his best coaching job or did his best coaching job with the help of his assistants and players that he's ever done there. They weren't a real good team in early October. And now all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but not that much later, their team that belongs in the top four. I mean, he did a terrific job of leading a pivot on offense and defense that got away from what they thought the team was going to be in the beginning of the season. So his performance didn't speak or didn't smell like somebody who was looking somewhere else. The way he interacted with us at NBC and also on the radio side didn't suggest that at all. And just the timing of it, with the team being days away from finding out what their very attractive postseason path is going to be, it raises eyebrows. But I can say from personal experience, he didn't act like a coach who was looking elsewhere, and he certainly didn't treat us that way. So I am, based off my personal experience there every weekend, I'm as surprised as anybody.
Paul, how will the players there react?
I think, it's easy for me to have a perspective that, at the age of 50 that I didn't have when I was 20. I'm sure the players, there will probably be a mix of sort of understanding and really let down. I mean, they're 18 to 22-year-old kids who've given it all up for this program. And it's easy to look at a leader and say, you're not in it with us anymore. So as the years go by, maybe there'll be some more understanding. But if I can remember back to how I was when I was 19, 20, 21, I would feel left behind. And that's probably a nice way of putting it. There are probably a number of players who feel a very strong version of that.
I don't know. Somebody in college football, I don't know who it is. I don't know if anybody has the power to do it. I doubt anybody does. But somebody in college football or the NCAA has to look at things like this and say, this is seedy, to put it mildly. This is wrong. It's morally wrong. And to allow one university to plunder another team's coach, in the middle of what might be a championship season is just, you try to compare it to other walks of life. I mean, what would happen in Major League Baseball if Aaron Boone is leading the New York Yankees? They're in the last weekend of the season, and they're about to enter the playoffs as the 1 seed, try to win another World Series. What would happen if the Los Angeles Dodgers threw $1 jillion at him and hired him? Would that be allowed? Of course not. It wouldn't be allowed. It's not right. It's not fair. All right, we're going to move on. I could really, I'll end up saying some things I know I'll regret, even though I feel them strongly. But I think you sort of get my drift. Peter,
yeah, just to tack on to that, I think you're nailing the main point here. That if there is a problem here, why not go outside of the person who decided to leave? I mean, look at the place that made him an offer that you really can't resist. I mean, it's different because there are young people's lives involved. But I mean, whatever your house is worth there, Peter, if somebody knocked on the door and said, I'll give you 4 times the amount in cash right now, you might be like, hey, honey, we've got something to think about here. And I know it's not that easy because there are 100 young kids' lives.
The difference, Paul, Paul, that happens every day in the real world, that somebody makes somebody an offer that they can't refuse. But it shouldn't happen when there's as much on the line as there is in this particular case. And again, I started this by saying, hey, maybe I'm Pollyanna. about this. And I know that a lot of people are going to say, it's just business. This happens all the time in college sports. I wonder, honestly, what does it matter that Mel Tucker, if indeed at Michigan State he's going to get a, whatever it is, $9-10 million a year contract? What does it matter if in 2 weeks, if somebody comes in and offers him a job for $15 million, that he can go take it? What does that mean then, to sign a contract in college sports? It's just reprehensible, the whole business. And I just don't think that right-thinking people can look at this and shrug their shoulders, no matter how much you might love LSU or whatever. And no matter at Notre Dame now, you say, hey, good riddance. We don't want you anymore. Because I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of people who say that too. But this is wrong, period, full stop.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.